It's so, oh, poor Harry, this, that. I went right through that that article, and I could tear it to shreds.
Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. We're in the podcast studio, and I am with a very familiar and very adored face of the channel, Will Geddes, my super security expert. You work with high-profile clients. I was asking you in the makeup room where you were headed, and you said if I told you I'd have to kill you. You still are a man on a mission.
I am.
Quite literally.
Yeah, I am. I'm still operational.
So thank you for taking a beat to spend some time
absolute
with
pleasure. I love doing this for you, doing your show, and your supporters and your followers are always really kind and also very funny. There's some great stuff, and I try and reply to a few people in there as well.
Oh, well, thank you
So
for doing
when
that.
someone said I was married with kids, and
Wait.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not married with kids.
Oh, well, I've seen some rumors about myself online, and I am also not married with children. Although my 4 dogs are my babies.
Actually, well, I got my 2 cats, haven't I?
That's true.
Lord Waffle and Mussolini.
We absolutely cannot forget them. I am coming off of a pretty chaotic week when it comes to Prince Harry coverage, and we have been leading into this. We've been covering this from the very beginning. The idea that Harry, potentially Meghan, and the children were coming to the UK to promote the 1-year countdown to Invictus. The back and forth has been absolutely insane. Yes, I'm coming. Yes, I'm bringing Meghan and the kids. Just kidding, I'm not. Security's too intense. Yes, I'm staying at Buckingham Palace. No, he's not staying at Buckingham Palace. I can't even remember what the latest developments have been, because it's just been an avalanche of negative headlines and a tsunami of poor decisions by Prince Harry. I think the first thing I would ask you, based on the last few weeks we've spent together, is from a security standpoint, should we have had any of this information from him and his team about his arrival here if he was truly under the impression that London is a threat?
It's a really good question. I mean, there is inevitably a lot of preparation. I mean, I know this if you're preparing a visit by a head of state or a person in the public eye or someone who is deemed to be at risk, and we can go into that because I'm not buying quite a lot of the narrative that's coming out of the Sussex camp. But I think, I don't blame King Charles dealing with, again, this petulant behaviour of, I'm coming, I'm not coming, I'm bringing Meghan and the kids, but I'm not bringing Meghan and the kids. I mean, you and I, the last time we spoke, I think we were both pretty convinced that Meghan wasn't going to be coming.
And if you look at the cost of Invictus, the security, that the investment in security for Harry and Meghan at every Invictus event, the cost is unbelievable.
Yeah.
To the point that if I was a fundraiser, if it was my job to raise money for Invictus and I saw how much we were spending to protect Harry and Meghan
Correct.
when they come out for to be mascots, basically, I would think that the return on investment was not there.
No, it's not. And one of the reasons why it's not there is they will have an allocated budget. And within that budget for this event, there will be the security allocation, which will look at all the sort of endemic risks and generic risks that you could ultimately face. And again, having been involved in some major events where world leaders have turned up and heads of state, that sort of thing, you look at who's turning up and who's bringing a potential problem with them. Now, if Harry's camp is saying, yes, he's at significant risk, that means they're going to have to allocate more of the budget, which would be otherwise attributed to other parts of the games, to his security, which just doesn't make any kind of sense. So ultimately, he's putting a greater burden on the event than it needs to have.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop him zooming in on a big screen to the event from his comfortable living room in Montecito to say,
or just him.
Yeah.
Versus, because Senabale, who is currently suing him for defamation, and he famously quit Senabale in Tom Bower's book. Somebody from Senabale, we don't know who, goes into great detail about the additional security required when Meghan enters the chat. How Meghan just throws everything into, the word of the week, unfortunately, has been chaos. But Meghan throws everything into chaos, because not only does Meghan show up to the polo match that she said she wasn't going to be at, but she brings Serena Williams.
Yeah.
And now my gosh, now you've got a whole new VIP scenario that you're dealing with. You've got this. Not only do you have somebody that is the son of King Charles within the vicinity, but now you've got his wife, who they claim is incredibly under threat, and an actual A-lister that you've got to monitor and treat a very specific way. So, I guess I want to flip-flop the rundown I sent you, and I apologize for that, because you've already gone into some of the, in my opinion, more interesting revelations from the last few weeks. And we spoke after Harry had a hissy fit when he was denied the Ravik security, which he wants, which is the automatic armed guards that are waiting for him when he lands, shadows him throughout his trip. And Harry's response was not only to release a piffy statement, which it's like, pump the brakes, bro. We've had enough of these from you. But then he goes to a friendly media outlet, which is ITV, and presents them with a privately funded advocacy report, where they break down his investigators, how much he's under threat. And this is allegedly a report that they have presented to Ravik within the last few years. Now, we have not seen the raw report, but based on ITV's repeat of some, which it just is so sympathetic that I could vomit, based on ITV's response to what they've seen, can you walk me through some of the highlights and your reaction to it?
Sure. So, as you rightly say, this report has only been issued to, I think, 3 different sources. I think it's gone to the Telegraph, it's gone to the ITN, or ITV, I should say, and one other source. I can't remember who it was, but none of them have actually had anyone like me, a security professional, review that report. Now, the one thing I can tell you, having put these reports together myself, is if it's whoever is paying for it is going to have it leveraged to their favor.
Of course.
So you're going to shape this. Now, I've looked at the extracts of this report, and particularly the 6 principal threats that Harry is trying to justify this security and Ravik's about turn on, obviously, a RASP deployment of security for him. Number 1, there's nothing about Meghan being presented as a threat.
Wow.
All the children.
Wow.
There is nothing to do with them. Yet I think she is probably the greatest risk that there's faced. Everything there is also historic. So one of which is based off an FBI interception of a Telegram messenger chat group, which was back in, I think it was about 2023, or so it's about 3 years ago. And it was a group that was looking at, obviously, targeting veterans from Afghanistan. I believe it's around that sort of time that Harry's book Spare came out, which obviously was him talking about his kill count.
Gloating.
Yeah, which any self-respecting person, I spent time in Iraq, I spent time in Afghanistan. Did I come back and start telling everybody, what I did out there? No, I didn't. And would I put it in a book? Certainly not. I'd keep that entirely to myself.
But that's not just you.
Private.
That's not just you.
It's everybody else as well. Anybody who's been down there with self-respect. The second thing was to do with this individual that gate crashed the court case here in the United Kingdom.
Which happens to be a fan of his, by the way.
Was a fan of his, exactly, which falls into another category, which is the fixated people. Now, there's approximately 500 fixated persons that look at the royal family. Now, this report attributes 50% of those 500, 250 people, to Meghan and to Harry. I wonder why. I wonder why. Look at the column inches they're getting in newspapers and online from their activities. They're drawing far, as we would call it in my world. So they're actually bringing the problems. And so I'm not massively surprised.
To your point, Charlotte Griffith, in her latest piece for the Daily Mail, comes out and admits that Harry and Meghan's team quietly approached her, told her that their team was going to be meeting with King Charles's team, let her know when. So she had a photographer waiting on the balcony. The Daily Mail captured those images. And then Harry and Meghan went and briefed the Telegraph, saying that they were upset that somebody from the palace's team had leaked that there was going to be this meeting. So to your point, according to Charlotte Griffiths, printed in the Daily Mail today, Harry and Meghan are stirring the pot behind the scenes with the media.
Big time. I mean, we know this with celebrities. Celebrities will work. I used to have a love-hate relationship with Big Pictures, who you may recall some years back were the kings and queens of paparazzi. And they used to do every celebrity out there under the sun. And they used to get the pictures. But what they'd also do is they'd talk to people like me to arrange, obviously, potentially purchasing pictures to take them off the market so they didn't end up actually in the newspapers. But one of the things that certainly goes on an awful lot, and I know most of the people who actually do this, is they will tip off to say, I will be at this location, I will be here, these are the people that I'll be with, I need a photograph of you with me, of me with Beyonce or Serena Williams or whoever it might be, because that gives them obviously that collateral publicity and that collateral sort of activities. And I know for a fact that Meghan is all about that. She's all about tipping off. Now, the royal family would have taken that so badly, because it's very carefully curated how they present themselves and their optics, and rightly so.
Also, they know that she was trying to do this in the lead up, like immediately in their relationship. I specifically remember there was some pushback from the palace because she was wearing a necklace like early on in their relationship that said H&M, which, by the way, that's a red flag. Like if somebody a month into your relationship is already wearing your initials, GTFO, get the you-know-what out. But she wanted to be papped wearing his initial,
of course. Yeah.
And the palace reached out to her and said, you're encouraging this. Don't do that. And she lost her mind. She pitched the nastiest fit. Omid Scobie talks about her calling the paparazzi, having them waiting for her outside of her yoga class.
Yeah.
And Harry was gone, I think in the UK doing something, and she was captured hiking and like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Princess Diana's jewelry with her friend Marcus Anderson, I believe at the time. So I still think she's guilty of that sometimes.
She is,
And to your point, it's a way of stealing the headlines. It's a way to continue to control the narrative, and the royals are supposed to be above it. But I think the royals, specifically with her, knew she did not realize what she was in for, that if she just pumped the brakes, the avalanche was inevitable. She would have inevitably received all of the attention that she wanted.
Yeah.
But she had her foot in, on the gas.
Yeah.
She was like, I just started dating him. Give me all the attention now. I mean, there's the big debate about who leaked that they were dating. I don't think is very debatable at all. We know, in my opinion, lawyers, we know exactly who leaked that they were dating, because there was only anything in it for her. And that is, Meghan, I'm about to be written out of Suits Markle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and she's a great one at working the press and working her own publicity and her angle. But here's the irony. The whole argument that Harry has about his mother being harassed by the media and
killed by the media,
the paparazzi.
Yeah.
And yet his wife, who's out there pulling the media into every opportunity that they possibly can. So that falls on deaf ears, that argument, as far as I'm concerned, about the media being intrusive. And also, I mean, we've seen this over the last few years, Kinsey, haven't we? And I mean, you've reported on it so many times. The whole privacy issue, that we left the royal family because we wanted privacy. I didn't want my wife ending up in the same condition as my mother and that sort of thing. And look at them. Have you ever seen members of the royal family who couldn't be more publicity hungry than those two?
No, I have not. That's a very good point. I mean, the selfies that Meghan Markle takes, and they're just very bizarre. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, would never be so desperate. Did we run down all of the...
No, we got some more. So the other one is they had a home intruder. They had an attempted intruder into their home in Montecito. having looked at, again, with a number of clients of mine, I've had so many people, fans, trying to get into their homes.
By the way, that's a typical Tuesday in LA right now. Crime is out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's this different level now that we have to address when it comes to celebrity, but I see almost every day on my local news, TikTok star in Beverly Hills robbed.
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe it isn't Angelina Jolie. You got the bling ring, that happened forever ago. But on a regular basis, unless you are self-securing in Hollywood and LA, crime is out the wazoo.
Of course, yeah.
Karen Bass is somehow still our mayor. Spencer Pratt's apparently going to go after her, saying that she robbed him of that mayoral race. Go Spencer Pratt. But I think that's you're not special, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I mean, and that is standard stuff for anyone in the public eye, and it happens all the time. And the number of intruders that I couldn't even count that or my team have intercepted that have tried to get into principals' homes or onto their properties, that sort of thing. So.
And it's isn't it typically to take things? It's not typically to be with them, or is that just
it's usually to go and sort of get a selfie or say hi or have a conversation. I mean,
that's weird. That is weird.
Jobs.
Okay, guys, that's really weird. I can understand if you want a Louis Vuitton. I cannot understand if you're just trying to get a selfie with somebody in their slippers.
Oh no, I've had a few more determined ones who've turned up with weapons and all sorts.
Okay,
of things.
Yeah. Well, we do
but
not
this intruder didn't have a weapon.
Yeah.
And then there's only two other ones.
Yeah.
One of which is Invictus Games, which by proxy, it's all these veterans that are going to be together at this particular event. So that's going to draw fire.
Does this again go in that conversation we've recently had about how Harry pursues dangerous things so that he can go, look, I'm in danger, like going to Ukraine, like doing, so that he can then go to Ravik and be like, well, I'm especially in danger.
Well, Ravik aren't going to take that, Kinsey. I mean, they're not going to look at someone who is endangering themselves or putting themselves at risk and say, oh yeah, okay, you've put yourself at such significant risk, we're going to actually award you with this security. They're going to turn around, they're going to say, you know what, you're a liability. And to be honest, as whoever the protection officers that would be assigned, they'd be going, I don't want this gig.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to have that gig. I mean, there's enough risk as it is doing the job that you don't want someone who's going to be attracting or drawing fire, as I said. You want someone who is going to be compliant, is going to work with you, is going to try and keep their head below the parapet, not stick it above it, which is what Harry seems to be inclined to do. And then the very last one, especially when we look at all of the various of these 6 principal risks, none of which I think hold any water whatsoever, is 4 individuals who were attributed to an Al-Qaeda-based threat against him, but a number of other targets as well. He was on a list of targets, and the way terrorists operate is they will have a selection of ideal targets, not just one. They rarely ever work on just one. It's going to be, unless it's something like a kidnapping, and then you do your research on the target and you go from there. But terrorists will look at a wide range of targets. And 4 of these individuals that are specific to Harry or to this threat, this umbrella threat, are basically unlocatable. They don't know where they are. But again, this is about 4 or 5 years ago. So this isn't current. It's just we don't know where these guys are right now. Big deal. Yeah. They've probably moved on. It's in the same way as you can have a row with a friend, give it a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and you've forgotten about it. You move on to the next person you have a row with. And the same is very likely to be the same here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the strategy behind leaking that to ITV, because it's certainly not going to change the government's mind. Is he trying to humiliate?
Could it be publicity?
Is he trying to make his father look like the bad guy here and say, look, my life is in jeopardy and my father won't step in to help?
But his father can't step in to help. Ravik is entirely independent.
But he is insisting that he can. Not only that, he says that Prince William has somebody on the Ravik committee and that it's Prince William and his cronies that are blocking his
But
security.
he's not. That's the thing. Prince William may have his best friend.
He doesn't, though.
But even if he did, Ravik is so strongly independent and impartial And the decision isn't based on necessarily the threats, but it's also politically based as well. And the same applies to IPP. And I know there's constant comments after I've been on of people saying he's looking to get IPP status. That's been nullified by Ravik. So even if he wanted IPP status, he couldn't get it unless Ravik actually agrees to him having a deployment of security. So ultimately, the problem is for Harry is he's just putting himself in the worst place possible if he was looking to get that royalty protection, and also throwing rocks at Prince William. Is that going to help matters? No, because Ravik's just going to see a spoilt little boy who's got a problem, who is not getting his own way, and he's throwing his toys out the pram.
Well, that is what they're saying, because he either sits down with the BBC or releases a hateful statement after every rejection. Piers Morgan said the other day, the idea that Harry is only in jeopardy in the city of London is one of the greatest insults to our intelligence.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that?
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of publicity on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, various other platforms, about the risk of watch crime and bags getting stolen and phones getting stolen and knife crime here in London. It's not as bad as everybody believes it is. It's very topical, so lots of people jumping on the bandwagon, lots of influencers posting stuff about the risks and the threats. To be honest, New York is probably a greater risk than London right now in terms of crime. And I've got friends in the NYPD who've told me that they're dealing with a lot of problems there right now. Mm-hmm. Here in London, the threat, I would say, is commensurate to any other major capital city.
But why does Prince Harry think he's especially under threat in London, but not Birmingham?
Well, exactly. Yeah. Well, again, these threats are not London-based. I mean, in terms of the 6 listed threats in this report. And the one thing that underpins, just to finish that, the 6 points are UK-specific. They're not city-specific. So yet he's still very happily going to come over and do Invictus Games. And actually, that was one of the other things, was Invictus, unless I mentioned it already, it was the generic threat, obviously, to the Afghanis. I did the Afghan veterans. But the thing that I find so surprising about this report, Kinsey, is they haven't got someone like me to actually sit down and look at it. I'm disappointed with Chris Shipp. I like Chris Shipp, or I used to like Chris Shipp. I read the article recently, and I have to say, I'm so disappointed.
Just such a puff piece.
It's such a puff piece, and it's so, oh, poor Harry, this, that. I went right through that article, and I could tear it to shreds.
As a royal reporter, I'm always digging into international stories, but nothing's more frustrating than hitting that content block online. That's where ExpressVPN comes in, a virtual private network that creates a secure tunnel for your online activity, keeping it private and safe. For unblocking, it lets you change your online location to any of 105 countries. I use it to access UK and global libraries. No more missing out. Privacy-wise, it hides my browsing from ISPs who sell data, crucial when researching sensitive topics, and on public Wi-Fi during travel. Its encryption protects my logins. ExpressVPN's the best, fastest speeds, no log servers audited by PwC. Plan starts at just $3.49 a month. That's like 12 cents a day. It's unreal. Find out how you can get up to 4 extra months by clicking the link in the description box below. expressvpn.com/Kinsey. That's expressvpn.com/Kinsey.
Absolutely. And I mean, it would be someone who is entirely naive to how the security system works. And I get that. Not everybody is going to understand it. But what they could have got is a credible security professional to actually look at it and go, yeah, okay. But they haven't. Mm-hmm. And my big question is, why? Why haven't they?
Well, that's what surprises me. We've seen, Charlotte Griffiths, again, this incredible piece she's written for the Daily Mail about her experiences with Prince Harry, and she does talk about being roped in by the Sussexes, and they're telling her about this private meeting that their advisors were going to have with the king's advisors, and they wanted this to be, that the lead story needed to be that there was a royal reconciliation on the horizon. And then you look at Chris Shipp, and then I've seen some other hiccups with people I know over the last few weeks that have fallen for the Sussex propaganda, and I admire those people and I love them, but I am confused as to why anybody would not be cynical when they are approached by this team why do they not recognize that there's an ulterior motive or an agenda and shut it down? It's called journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
Only a few of us have it left. And with some of these people, I know where their heart is. So I feel bad that they got caught up in the Sussex circus. But it's like, we can't trust these people.
Well, the thing that surprises me is Chris Shipp is a veteran journalist and you know, a very credible journalist on many different levels. But that particular article I looked at and I was like, I don't understand quite what the agenda is here.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, you know what
Harry's got form as well.
It was to make Harry as sympathetic towards Harry.
Yeah, absolutely. But why? Why specifically to be sympathetic to him? And the other thing as well is Harry's got form.
Because Harry's been giving Chris Shipp access. It was Chris Shipp a few weeks ago in the Ukraine with Harry, and Chris Shipp says to him, and he gives him the soundbite of his life. What do you think about the accusations that you're not a working member of the royal family? And Harry was like, I'm very much still a working member of the royal family. Well, you can't say that and stand on a stage in the Ukraine and be political about two different countries, two different leaders of two different countries. You know, Harry's constantly going the political route, which you absolutely cannot do if you're a working member of the royal family. But it's access, you know, to your point. Why do you do this? Because you enjoy the exclusive interviews with Prince Harry, because it's clickbait.
Yeah, of course it is. And it is. And I mean, and any journalist to a certain extent may not turn down that opportunity. I mean, I will. Unlike your good friend Tom Bauer, you know, who's a great writer. And I've told you some stories I won't share on here, but I've met Tom before, and when he was writing a book about one of my clients. And the good thing about Tom is he's very, very impartial. He's he won't even let his subject know anything about the angles that he's going to come at. Tom will literally sit with them. He'll ride shotgun with them everywhere, and he'll be writing his little notes away of what he's going to put in the book. And the subjects, or certainly the one that I was working with at the time, was absolutely terrified. It was like, God knows what's going to come out in this book because he's not going to tell me. And they have no editorial control whatsoever. That's how a good journalist should be when they go out escorting Prince Harry to the Ukraine. It would be like, okay, I'm going to write this as honestly and cleanly as I possibly can.
First of all,
without
what the
it
hell
going, you're
is he
so
doing
fabulous
in the Ukraine? Why the hell are we here? Harry doesn't have a job. What's he doing?
and he's not on any royal functions. It's the Harry and Meghan, you know, tour, isn't it? I mean, it's just publicised. It's keeping themselves in sight of the general public and giving them sufficient material to basically then republicise through TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is they want to do.
Let me ask you, I sent you a couple of videos, and I know, I'm sorry, I gave you a couple of different angles. I'll be honest with you. Since he lost the court case, since Charlotte Griffith's article came out calling him out for some of his, you know, suing a newspaper for invading his privacy and insisting on the stand that he did not, he and his friends and his team never leak, and then Charlotte Griffith's being like, actually, here's him leaking to me. He's gone underground, so we don't have a ton of footage of him here yet. No. But from the footage that I sent you, can you walk me through anything you've seen or anything that stood out to you about the presence of his security team?
Well, there are a couple of things that I could immediately tell you. I could tell you probably how much he's paying for his security. Oh. Secondly,
go. We'll start there.
So I could tell you he's probably paying about $5,000 a day for his security, from what I could see. Okay. I've got a pretty good idea of what his configuration of the security is and how many people he's got, but I'm not going to share that because that would be intrinsically
that would be a violation. We're not violators.
But I would say that from the indicators I could see of how his close protection officers were dressed, how they were presented, and I don't wish to be rude about any other security professional, but I would say they're probably American. They didn't look Brit to me. Some of the indicators of what they were wearing and how they were behaving, I would say it was pretty standard, fairly low-level security. It's not the sort of security, if I had a serious, significant threat on a client terrorist groups
You'd
and
be
everything
calling
else.
someone like yourself.
Obviously, but I would probably have a bigger security contingent. I would probably have. I mean, there was a press pen where obviously the press were located. There would be members of the general public.
Did it seem like there were more press than public to you?
There were actually.
Yeah,
There
I was like, these crowds aren't that impressive, guys.
No. I mean, I didn't see the token pigeon that turned up in Geneva for Meghan.
Yeah.
A couple of commenters came back on, but yeah, I think in terms of the security, they seemed to do an adequate job. They did what they needed to do, and there was obviously an advance party, and then he was moved off that position pretty quickly. The one thing that I found surprising is I would have bolstered my security if I was the principal, so I could actually interact with the members of the general public or the press at that location.
The reason
that
that
was securable.
I think the reason he didn't is because I think he got a heads up that he lost, and that was a bruised ego.
Oh, was it?
Okay,
Okay, right.
Yeah, he gave a speech there where he looked absolutely heartbroken, and he's sitting there trying to cheer on Invictus, and he looks like he's 3 seconds away from crying his eyes out. And I do believe we have video of his attorney sliding in through a side door to let him know that the verdict had come down and that he'd lost. So I think he didn't engage with the public, because you're right, like PR wise, that would have
been brilliant.
Yeah, but
I mean, and the thing is, I again, this shows the substance of Harry. So I've had again experiences of being with someone who has received some devastating news just before they're supposed to do a public event, and you know what? They've just allowed themselves to be professional, to stay on mission and do what they were there to do. Yeah. And this again shows Harry's immaturity, maybe to a certain extent, that he should have been prepared that he was going to win or lose. And if you're going to lose, how's that going to reverberate to how you're going to behave in your conduct and your presentation? And he could have done himself a world of good if, regardless of the bad news, of going over to the general public and saying hi.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Even if he didn't want to talk to the press because he was worried they were going to ask him questions about the result. Yeah. Go and have a chat with the little old ladies, or the tramp, or the pigeon, or whatever.
Well, and then he'd accuse them of stalking him, because some of those women are repeat offenders that I saw in the crowd. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
I always love it. Thank you, Kinsey. Thank you.
Agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. I'm sorry that this video is sans cats. Maybe next time. Maybe next time we'll have the kids. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kinsey Schofield.